Hello and blessed be. Thank you for joining AstroPsych. Today is March 12th, 1:30 p.m., and I am hailing out of Huddleston, Virginia. We're going to be looking at the month of March here quickly and then concentrating on our Virgo full moon lunar eclipse that's coming up for us and occurring tomorrow in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, and that will be at 6:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So adjust your clocks accordingly, but those who live in Eastern Standard Time will see this occurring at 6:38 a.m. So great time to start your morning with this eclipse starting off our day. And what I want to do is just take a look at these planets, where they're lining up as we open up the month of March and some of the themes that are coming through. And then we'll look at this lunar eclipse. So starting out of the gate here, we open up with a Pisces sun. So happy birthday to all of the Pisces season here. And at a 12-degree sun as of this lunar eclipse, opposite, of course, the moon. In a full moon, we have the sun and the moon opposite of each other. This Pisces sun opening up the chart here for the month was not traveling alone. We have a lot of players that have congregated together in the Pisces energy that are opposing or in a polarity position 180 degrees away, which is the nature of Saturn. And there's this steady, slow, contrasting polarity that's occurring here in oppositions, where there has to have a meeting in the middle, a meeting of the minds, so to speak. So as you can see, Pisces here in the first house has Mars at 0 degrees, the lot of Eros at 8 degrees. We also have the ascendant directly conjuncting a Piscean ascendant, which means Jupiter and Neptune are ruling the chart of the day. We also have the nodes in Pisces, same degree as that ascendant in current review here, which means they're moving forward. The nodes actually in a natural position move backwards. So they're moving forward in the chart as of this eclipse. We have Pallas at 12 degrees, conjunct the Sun at 12 degrees as of this eclipse, conjunct Mercury, and conjunct Venus, all in Pisces. So all of the inner planets, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, along with the node and the ascendant, of course, and Lot, are all in these inner planets here. Opposite the moon all by itself, if we were to just have the moon there, I add additional pieces, as you could see, and I'll talk about those quickly. But the moon is standing in the house of partnerships, and this moon is being ruled by Mercury because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So we have a polarity occurring of Pisces opening the gate of the month of March, asking us to look up, asking us to shift from an internal structured action to more of an outer action of the possible, and to dream and to go towards spirituality as we have gone through the deepest shadow work of our life. The 12th house is where Pisces originally lives. And in that house, we have a house that is the house of spirituality and solitude and self-reflection. It's a house where we are shedding this lifetime and we are preparing to start a new cycle. And we know that Pisces has already been asked to do this with its lord Neptune, that ingressed into Aries last, or this month, excuse me, February, pardon me. In February 20th, that occurred right after the solar eclipse, and is being asked to consider where it's placing its Neptune out in its own fires and making its own mark of I am courageously. Where are its dreams going out? And that, of course, isn't traveling alone, as we had Saturn sitting there in 2 degrees in Aries, ingress and travel with Neptune. Now, Saturn moves so much more quicker than Neptune does, but they will be together in this relationship for 2.5 years of a structure of our I am cardinal fires that are being asked of where are we dreaming, what are we believing in, and what do we need to release to prepare for the newer energies that are being asked of us, as we have seen Pluto ingress into Aquarius now at 4 degrees up there in the 12th as of this month and moon, which is, of course, Pisces house. So we've got Saturn sitting inside of Pisces house, who rules Aquarius. And I just talked about Saturn's little travel with Neptune there, being asked about, hey, what does this look like for you? Because there's a projection that is occurring of a very deep subconscious nature when we have Neptune inside of Aries. Because Aries is the first house portal of the entire chart, where the ascendant shows up. Aries is the body that's moving out and making its way into the world. And Neptune only rules Pisces. It is co-ruled with Jupiter. Yes, Sagittarius rules Jupiter, but Neptune only rules Pisces. And Neptune, if not harnessed on the plane of Earth, can be very, very challenging. And with it in fire, this is not Earth. This is fast-moving energy that perhaps can be too impulsive at the get-go of March, and just moving its energies out and not considering the polarities in the chart, which consists of this Virgo, and highlighting it on March 3rd heavily with the lunar eclipse. So March 2026 is the most pivotal month of transition, characterized by a deep shift being asked of us from this internal reflection to a structured action. And my theme for this month is, it's all about the heart. It's all about the heart. And you can see the ask here in this very mercurial-minded moon. And full moons are what we release. Full moons are about taking all the energies of the last cycle and getting rid of it, putting it out, and manifesting it out. So this moon is asking us to look at, where are we manifesting our mercurial minds in consideration of everything else going on in the chart. Because it isn't just the Virgo game. It isn't just all about this Virgo need to analyze and structure and then release it in its way. It must consider the other. It must consider the we. Virgo is I work as its mantra, a mutable earth sign that rules the 6th house, a very practical house. Pisces, its opposite, where the node is very clearly speaking a message to us is we care. And it's ruled by Neptune and Jupiter, which I said, also mutable energy. So, where is my work in relationship with the caring and the nurturing and the highly feeling energies of Pisces that highlights dreams and intuition and imagination and the intuitive realms and the feeling realms? Pisces is the highest water sign of representing emotions and how we feel so deeply, so highly, so fully that it's so full it's being expressed outwardly with others as we swim the oceans of the world. On March 20th, we have the sun moving into Aries, kicking off the spring equinox this month. And this is going to spark fresh, new energy, new starts, new direction. And this March cleanup, these eclipses occurring in February and March, super huge because what they're doing is they're finalizing, like this starting of the new wheel with Saturn and Neptune. Go back and listen to last month. I talked about this. And I also did a transit video on it. If you want to see it, they're under my transits playlist. But I talk about this because it's doing a huge work for us. It's shifting our energies. And this March is finalizing some areas in your life related to these poles, related to this moon lunar cycle. It's a clearing out here of old habits, followed by the new moon in Aries March 18th as we move into the Aries season March 20th. It's inviting us to start some newer, bolder, courageous, very fiery expressions, but we can't do it yet. We must get through March and navigate April's ingress of Uranus into Gemini. But we'll be more prepared as we navigate this March and what is occurring and going down through the month. So Mercury is in Pisces there at 20 degrees. And we'll be dealing with the signs of Pisces and Aries here. And Mercury begins March in retrograde until the 20th. So Mercury is also the lord of this moon, right? Is dealing with its lord in Pisces. Another highlight of, look, Mercury is speaking to this full moon in Virgo eclipse and is asking all Virgos in 12 degrees of your chart, all of our Virgos, every single one of us, this 12 degrees is speaking. 13, 12, 13 degrees. Look for those degrees. And it's saying, where is your mind, Mercury? What are you thinking about, Mercury? What do I need to analyze? What do I need to critically look at? What do I need to be conscious of, helpful about, introverted about, logical about, practical, precise, punctual, pure? Hey, what do I need to clean up? What do I need to get in there and be hypercritical about and examine under the magnifying glass? With my energies, the moon is very personal for each of us and collective, yes, deals with the feminine and our ancestors and our mother and family. This is very personal with it opposite the sun, as the sun is the most personal planet in the entire chart. And next comes the moon and then the ascendant, which the ascendant isn't a planet, it's a position and a place. But it becomes very important, to look at the big three, they're called sun, moon, ascendant, because those are the driving forces of how we're moving all these other energies around. And the costumes that we wear and any of the players in our natal charts are working with us and traveling with us, and a natal promise that they will be highlighted. So if you're born a Virgo sun or a Pisces sun, this is a huge eclipse for you. So Mercury in Pisces is asking Mercury, right, Virgo, to move beyond linear and logical and rational mind spaces here, to move into the feels, to move in essence in a way that frees your mind and can open up this creative, imaginative, dreamy, poetic drama, magnetic, yes, highly magnetic energy, because we're going to be transitioning into Aries here, and that is going to make our communication very direct and very honest and very fast paced. So while it's at this 20 degrees, it's in retrograde, so it's going back. It's not moving forward as of this eclipse. So it's asking all Virgos, especially, and Geminis ruled by Mercury, please look at all things Pisces in your chart. This is your polarity. Gemini, it would be Sagittarius. So this is inviting all the mutable signs also to take a look at how you are navigating this great divide of the mind and logical, rational spaces with partnerships and other people and patterns. We have the South Node there at 8 degrees next to the moon, and fated relationships with the vertex at 20, in ways that you have acted and are acting and will act as this, for some, depending on the rest of your charts, it's a fated union we're talking about here with someone of a very high emotional nature that perhaps is able to speak of spiritual things and higher things and operates in those realms. There's a polarity here going on. And this is also the house of the descendant, the seventh house, where the part of fortune is sitting there at 8 degrees, the lot of spirit at 8 degrees, and we also have the south node at 8 degrees. This is a major conjunction here with the moon. And that all together simply means that there is great favor, part of fortune, if you were to look at your relationships at a very deep level, your partnerships, your business partnerships, your others, anyone who is an other, anywhere where you show up with others in a larger context in partnerships, also in your marriage, or if you're not married, your partnership in general, romantic partnerships, also shows up with legal partnerships and court cases. And there is a release here of the way that you have looked at how you do your energy in partnerships and how you show up in structured actions in a highly practical but maybe overcritical nature, because your Lord isn't joining you here. Your Lord is opposing you. And your Lord is over there in this whole other stellum with everyone else that's being asked with the North Node to elevate and to bring your actions with others to a higher polarity, and to perhaps not be so much about work, and be more about the collective of how can I be more humble, and how can I be more idealistic? How can I be a bit more mystical and allow myself to go out into these realms where I'm not in control and where the logical can cease for a while in balance here, in balance. We can't stay with the Mercury Pisces. That's that's challenging a Mercury Pisces because it falls there in the planetary dignity scale. It has to work harder. It's not designed, Mercury, to stay up in those non logical spaces. So there's nothing wrong with Mercury and Virgo in these spaces of logic. We need those people that operate in these signs, suns, and ascendants, moons, to please put your energy down. But there's an ask here, no doubt, as we're finishing up a great cycle and moving into newer energies, of how are you doing that? Mercury in Pisces is promoting peace, is promoting we care, not I. It is not just I here, Virgo. What you must consider the others. Venus is doing a Pisces Aries movement in March and starts out very peaceful in Pisces. Very loving, very warm energy, very caring. The healer is moving out here. The mystic is speaking and wanting to see social interactions that turn inward and not so logical, not to hold and analyze like Virgo, right? Opposition. Do you see? It's opposite. But to allow the mind, again, here, another stroke of dream, imagine, envision, look up. Don't always look down on the earth. Allow the mind to expand. You know, on the 6th, she changes her costume into fiery Aries and co-joins Saturn and Neptune there, where she stays in Aries the entire month. So there's a fast moving energy here. Everything is moving forward with the exception of the nodes in Mercury. So there is this real concentration of a review on the way the nodes, your direction, your destiny, where you're pointing, where it's moving all of us collectively. And then, of course, you, where it maps up with your chart and your natal promises. With Mercury, our logical minds are being asked to be looked at and reviewing. And all of the Mercury retrogrades are in water signs, Virgo and Gemini. You're ruled by Mercury, very logical signs. You're being asked to go into the feels this year and to consider the way that you have been interacting with all of the water elements in your chart and wherever the water's showing up in your day-to-day life. Gemini rules the 3rd house. Virgo rules the 6th house. Very practical houses in daily interactions with water. So it's definitely highlighting this for you. Mars is in Pisces here also at 00 degrees. Moved into Pisces on the day of this lunar eclipse and will travel through Pisces until April 10th, when he will ingress into Aries, his sign, shooting us off of the new moon in Aries and the equinox, spring, and the Aries season. So I want to mention the Saturn and Neptune ingress is very important, as that recently went in last month, and we've got planets coming to meet and greet quickly, not in retrograde, moving. That matters in the chart. Coming up to meet that stellium where we have Chiron in Aries as well, in Ceres in Aries. We've got Mars not moving in a straight line here when it's in Pisces, opening up the chart. It has an ability here with its personal energy to flow and be in a rhythm, not against the tide, but like really gets a buoyancy here where maybe it's not just the little guppy swimming around, but it becomes the shark in the water. And it now is able to navigate some deeper waters. It's got courage with Mars in Pisces. And Mars doesn't do the best in water signs, but it's not in detriment or fall, not exalted, and not in domicile, but it can, depending on the rest of the chart, maneuver, and it is maneuvering here towards that Aries. Again, a lesson pointing us somewhere to a new season, a new start. And this is the prelude. And then it ends. March is the most important month in 2026. So, what's the ask of us here with Mars, the nodes, the ascendant, Pallas, Sun, Mercury, Venus, stellium? That is like a lot of water, and that could be too much water on the body. Okay, something needs to be navigated in the emotional realms here with this eclipse where we are ending something that has been in a cycle with our waters in the way that we've related with our waters. And of course, the water is the 4, the 8, and the 12 houses of your chart. Highly psychic areas and deeply intuitive, very psychological areas of the chart. Jupiter is in Cancer and in retrograde at the start of the month here. But March 7th, he does station direct. And after sitting there for 4 months since November, finally stationing and beginning to move forward. So this is awesome for all Cancers in opposite sign polarity Capricorn. And of course, the signs that rule Jupiter come into play too, right? Which are Sagittarius and Pisces. So maybe some things that have been held in the waters, held in the emotions, been under review, haven't really felt like they could come out yet, will now begin to move out in an extremely beneficial way for all Cancers. I'm a Cancer. I'm looking forward to this and some energies moving forward and, finally closing the door on some things. So look for your 15-degree Cancer, which is a very powerful exalted position because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. It does extremely well here. And we will have that until June when it ingresses into Leo. And Leo, you're on deck and you will be enjoying a whole year with your Jupiter return in your sign. So Cancers, you're finishing up a cycle that occurs only once every 12 years. Jupiter enters and returns in your sign once every 12 years. So this has been probably a very beneficial year for you where you've had a lot of fortune and favor and things have closed up for you. And your beliefs and philosophies have been in review and you've been asked to restructure those because you finished something and move them into a way that's more in alignment with who you are. I operate in these Cancer waters. It is my signature sun sign and a stellium that is really heavy in my chart and has a lot of natal promises. So it's really helped me having this Jupiter here to just finish up some lessons I've had that have been very favorable. One of them being, getting my doctorate and finishing school. So, yeah, really fortunate time for the rest of these next few months here for all cancers. Saturn now in Aries here. We just talked about that pretty deeply. We know what Aries is doing there, trying to set some structures in our I am energy. Where are we putting out now going forward? Our structures of a very highly spiritual nature initially, and then it's going to move on. You know, it doesn't stay. It's already at 2 degrees, separating from Neptune. So that is a transit there last month that would have taken place that you would have definitely felt and had a new direction on. Uranus is moving in Gemini April 26th. So we're ending, of course, Taurus there in Gemini, 27 degrees on the cusp of the 4th house. In the 3rd house, closing out these ways that we've moved our energy around in all Taurus themes of money, values, practical energy that we've held and fixed and put down upon the earth. And it's in the house of communication. So it's being ruled by Mercury. Well, here we go. Mercury's coming to the forefront here for this Uranian energy. Unexpected ideas can come as a result of this lunar eclipse that are of high breakthrough nature, where communication is being freed up with others. It is trining this moon in the 7th house and sextiling Mercury, its ruler of this moon, in the 1st. They're not exact. There are separations, most definitely. They're not strong. But the communications a few weeks ago with this 3rd house, Virgos would have felt, and Pisces for sure, that, hey, there's something I need to discuss and finish up here before, intuitively you would have known this before Uranus goes into Gemini in that 4th house. Very sensitive cusp of the deepest roots of who you are, the I see, my goodness. So there would have been something on your mind that now is finishing. Yes, Uranus is moving forward, not slowing down, and going all the way to Gemini here on April 26th. Watch that day where we're going to have a more than likely a lot of communication coming within the first few months, especially in the early degrees where it's most potent, of technology, AI, yes, and a lot of secrets that have been held and looked at about values and how we've treated others, and how, it's ruled by Venus, Taurus, and our money and what our money is done and manipulated. And my God, can we see this with the Epstein situation and the Diddy situation, where people were bought off and bought and sold? And I can't use certain words or I'll be banned here. So you all know what that's about. All of the code words they were using and everything they've been doing. And we're going to see a tremendous amount of information. I'm going to save that for April, but know that that's on deck. Neptune and Aries, speaking this message of, I need to speak very boldly about my highest spiritual knowledge, highest spiritual beliefs, and how I really deeply care about this with others. I'm going to bring my artistry out, my fire. I'm going to bring out my creative, dedicated, courageous, dreaming energies. Yeah, this is potent. We are going to see a lot of creativity explode all over the planet, and it's going to be speaking with Uranus. And it's going to be very quirky, unusual, very rebellious, revolutionary energies coming into us in the collective. We also have Pluto in Aquarius, and we have Pluto at 4 degrees there in the humanitarian sign, ruled, of course, by 2 lords of Saturn and Uranus. Pluto is in Aquarius in the 12th house, And I'll go into more of the collective themes, not so much in the 12th, although it does tie in. That's just a deeper message as we have all that energy in Pisces asking us to do our deepest, deepest shadow work, to go in isolation with our bodies initially here and release. Release. Get this done, get this cleared out through this lunar eclipse as we're moving into these energies of Aquarius, which is we know. We know what we know. And we're going to place down the energies that we know, which means those that look for your Aquarius at 4 degrees here. And it's going to show the energies where you have really been doing some work, a greater work, and a greater work to be done of great transformative nature with the way that you care and know and send your knowledge out into the collective to be of a very transformative nature so that we can evolve and we can translate ourselves and transfer ourselves out of the energies that are not healthy. There's a real revolutionary energy here of wanting to break the mold and get out of the 10th house traditional structures and be more unconventional and more idealistic and less Saturnian in the Capricorn way of having to have things set down a certain way. So, we had the Pluto USA return chart a couple years ago, and, where we're seeing the United States under another revolutionary change. It's really huge when you see Pluto return. Absolutely huge. And of course, this year we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of America. Wow. We have a lot of changes coming into our country in the United States. If you live here like I do, buckle up. It's not going to be a smooth ride. The changes will take a few years. And, we have another presidential election coming up by then, and who knows what's going to happen, right? I haven't really looked into that, but I look forward to, again, getting more into these transit charts with countries and actual events that are taking place and looking more closer at that. So, all right, let's look more closer now at this Mercury-led moon. March 3rd, tomorrow, actually, 2026, as of this recording. So, a Virgo moon is a doer moon. Virgos are really wanting to be of service. Their hearts are all about service. And the sign is, how can I put the service out so that we can have order and structure that will heal us and nurture us? They're the healer sign, right? The virgin, the one that wants to come and bring purity and wholeness and completeness. And the moon is difficult in Virgo because it's ruled by Cancer, which is the feeling sign. And the moon in Virgo is operating in logical realms of a analytical nature, right? And it's the cognitive rational mind. So it struggles here to step out of that space and sit and go to the dreamy spaces of Pisces, its polarity, where its Lord is. And it's in retrograde. So, not the easiest energies here for this moon. Pisces is the dreamer. And there's this practical purification here and a needing to release a need for perfection. And it really goes back down here beyond the mind, Virgo, to the heart and the feels of the heart and the emotional centers where we feel differently than the mind can. You know how your heart can be in one space, but your heart in another? That's what's going on here. And there's a real war. There's an opposition to your Mercury. So we know there's even a deeper war. And there's also an imbalance. The South Node is here conjuncting with a lot of spirit, which is ruling the sun. The lot of spirit rules over the sun magnetic powers of the spirit, the soul, and it's opposite the sun in Pisces. And you've got to conjunct the South Node in Virgo, conjunct the moon. And it's like, where is this a real challenge for you to show up in spaces and partnerships where you need to feel, where you're showing up with others, where it would be like a more maternal, the moon is maternal, Cancer, and you're being asked to be more nurturing and maybe not so hard line, and this is the way we're gonna do it. And again, this need for perfection keeps you in the mind and not in the heart. And Pisces has even moved beyond Cancer, beyond Scorpio, transcending all of that, where it's up in this high spiritual nature, asking you to be like, look above. There's more going on than just this planet Earth, and really connect to the heart spaces of your ancestral spaces, of the ether spaces, that which is above, and of the places where you're the artist, right? Instead of memorizing, like let's say you're studying how to paint. Instead of learning all the hard rules about the painting, just sit back and allow all the rules to go to the wind, something a Virgo is terrified of. And it goes back down here again to the heart and this avoidance of emotional feeling, because it's naturally called, there's nothing wrong with them. The sign is naturally called to avoid. It's its polarity, those higher spaces, so it can be of a real practical use for us. But again, if there's too much of that energy and it's not balancing that out, it can find fault with others here. And I'm bringing in others so much because it's in the seventh house, pointing you to marriages, deepest love relationships, unions of all kinds, your friends and your enemies, business partners. There's something here, and a big ask. You're over there by yourself, Virgo. Everything is on the other side of the chart for the most part, and it's looking at you, and it's staring you in the face, and it's asking you to do this last push and this last release of this full moon, and to end something that has been a real burden upon you. And I'm going to go into this in a minute as I go into the dates on this, and you could see where this theme might be reoccurring for you in your life. But it's a powerful time of what's known in the collective as cosmic editing, where the moon illuminates this, all of our daily systems, our health routines, our work habits, what the heck we're doing every day with our hands. And with it near the South Node, it's saying, look, let go of what's inefficient. Let go of what's draining you. Let go of what's overcomplicated. And, don't start anything new here. Don't, start a new relationship. Maybe you need to fix instead of move on all the time. Maybe you need to look back and review why you feel this need to always release this and not stick with that polarity, and look a little bit more closely at the heart issue of the situation. The South Node is there, speaking very clearly what you need to get rid of, and it's in review. The polarity here puts us in a middle ground here. And this is wherever we have our 12 degrees. So this is all people, but it is highlighting the signs that are mutable, and specifically Virgo, because it's a Virgo lunar eclipse. So logical order and dreams and spirituality have a polarity. Find your balance between needing to run the show and have things be like so ordered that there isn't any room for spirit. There isn't any room for the hugging and the holding and the crying that needs to happen, because the waters wash the soul in the 12th of the karmic house, where Pluto is of deep transformation in the collective. Vesta's keeping her light on there. And let me tell you, Hecate has shown up. And that is a powerful, powerful conjunction when you have Hecate conjunct Pluto. She's ruled by the moon, Hecate. So, there is a really, really, really deep ask here. It's in conjunct the moon in the 7th, all those energies in the 12th, ruling your polarity sun, ruling your polarity ruler, ruling your polarity Venus, ruling your polarity Mars, and ruling your polarity lot of Eros, which is your sexual, deep, visceral passion. In Greek, we have the 3 parts of love that explain the way we relate with each other, right? And the first is opposite the 7th. So where you may be putting your really deep visceral energies out in a non-structured way, they're being called to some attention here for you. Definitely all in a conjunction up there with the power of Aries. Super conjunction. Massive tension between logical control Virgo and spiritual surrender Pisces. Emotional, intuitive, dense energies. Mars in Pisces is more about doing, less about doing and more about flowing. Pallas Athena here is this creative strategy. She brings an intellectual skill, strategic wisdom, and she's asking you to look at the bigger picture. All right, so we're dissolving in this great release perfectionism. You must, because Earth is a place of learning, and failure is part of learning. And failure isn't failing, it's how we look at the failure that makes us feel like we're failing and failures. Like fail forward, fall forward, grow forward. Everything is evolutionary, and you can't get it wrong when you come from a place of love. You cannot get it wrong. There's a health and service reset for us. Virgo rules the body and work. And we could experience a sudden ending regarding a habit or a specific place we've been putting ourselves in partnerships that are no longer making sense for where our spirit is putting us. And it could be dissolving something that you just were really foggy and unclear about, that will come once you release it, once you surrender, once you say, okay, I can't fix this anymore. I can't organize my way out of this. I can't put enough analytical power and dedication to this anymore. This is exhausting you. Whatever this is, something's asking you to move on. And it is karmic. The node is there. The south node is there. Deeply, deeply karmic. Mars in the mix, fighting in the dark, fighting foggy energy, submerging, confusing, deep shadow work being called upon here, with the energies that are so deep and so down that perhaps it is going to require you to get a partner involved, to take a little closer look at your 12 degrees of your moon in Virgo. The strategy is going to help you out with Pallas, though, of don't work harder, Work more intuitively. Don't work harder. Work more intuitively. Busy work helps satisfy the Virgo mind, but that busy work isn't going to work anymore to meet this need that you've used to overcompensate, because it makes you feel like you're purifying something and getting something done, when in fact you're ignoring your heart and not going to the heart spaces that are calling you and screaming in this eclipse to take a look at this, especially with Venus. Now we have this trine to Uranus in Gemini, and I really want you to see this helper. It's at 27 degrees, so it's past. It's not approaching your moon. The moon's already earlier gone through this, right? Hours earlier. And it is out of this angle, I should say. And so there's a positive flow. There's a busting open of the dam here that can happen for you in communications with someone you have had on a day-to-day basis. Could be a Taurus, could be the opposite sign of Taurus, a Scorpio, but it's somebody or something that you've been dealing with on a day-to-day basis that has been of a mercurial nature, and there's an adjustment being made to being asked of you to open the lines of communication. You have great favor to do that. Something's going to be clarified here for you in a huge way. There's an aha moment, quick solutions from these stagnant routines and stagnant habits and ways of being. So these eclipses, they serve us as high intensity catalysts for change, and these specific axis points. And in the historical context of this eclipse, this is the psyche. This is a cycle from 2006 to 2027 that's closing out for us. Eclipse cycles happen every 18 to 19 years, and the eclipses are connected to the karmic nodes. And although the nodes are still in Virgo and Pisces, they're going to shift for us upcoming here soon into Aquarius and Leo. So the last eclipse cycle in Virgo and Pisces was March 2006 to February 2008. The previous one was September 87 to August 89. And the one before that was March 69 to February 71. So the full lunar eclipses we have had are the lunar eclipse September 18th, 2024 in Pisces. The lunar eclipse March 14th in Virgo, 2025. The lunar eclipse in Pisces September 7th, 2025. And the solar eclipse in Virgo September 21st, 2025. Lunar eclipse in Virgo, March 3rd, 2026, and the lunar eclipse, August 28th in Pisces, 2026, and a final lunar eclipse in Virgo, February 20th, 2027. So there is a cycle taking place here in the Virgo and Pisces axis that's asking for a higher path, grounded clarity versus the busy work, becoming the archetype that is discerning and highly intuitive in a grounded, balanced way, but not for the sake of always promoting a structure or a system or needing to clean something up. It's embodying sacred service and embodying wisdom and integrating it in a high level spiritual ideal in daily tangible actions. The shadow here in this whole axis point and the moon is to intellectualize emotions. Like, that's what Virgo does. It intellectualizes emotions. And all of the feeling signs and all of the water that gets along with Earth is here to help you and support you and work with you and to show you that you can't always do that. And you're helping the water signs show you need to put some structures down. But the moon here is over fastidious in trying to solve a puzzle instead of experiencing life, and hyper focusing on flaws and inadequacy, and then you project this out into others, where you move out of the heart center of we care, the heart center that Pisces is trying to bring you into with this whole stellium. And suppressed emotions here, Virgo, result in gut issues. You know, they show up in somatic stress of nervous system and tension disorders, anxiety disorders, over functioning, overdoing, overcommitting, over saying yes and not knowing how to say no, and attempting to control everything and the outcomes in order to soothe your inner anxiety. That's why you want it clean. It's doing something for you at a deep level. So a mindful tip is, look at how you're managing your mental energy, your logical energy, your rational energy in exchange with others, and find how you can balance it with the creative, intuitive spaces, and understand that you do not need to be perfect to be safe and loved. You do not need to be perfect to be safe and loved. Some crystals here for this moon. Black tourmaline. This is going to ground you and protect you from the ecliptic high energy noise here. Amazonite. This is going to balance your analytical mind with the heart's intuition. Huge stone. Amethyst will bridge the gap between your high Virgo analytical nature to spicy Pisces spirituality. In grounding, moss, agate for stability, healing, resonating with the earth element, grounding your spiritual practices through heart-centered ways, not analytical only ways. Moonstone to navigate emotional transitions and enhance connection to spirit. I have a moonstone always nearby me. It's Cancer stone, and it helps so much. I can't tell you how much I rely on moonstone. Make sure you have your grounding energies around moonstone with you. Fast. I'm going to go through where these are showing up for the other 12 signs. Here we go. Pisces. This is in your 1st and 7th house axis. The identity and relational access. So personal goals, image and profile, your body, your relationships, your structures in relationships, your partners, your contracts. What's going on with your personal energy and the others with contracts, business relationships, focusing on yourself versus the other, and maintaining your I am versus swimming in these deep waters of we are. Pisces, this is asking you to pull up your energy back in and put it more in the body and feel it before moving out. So you're going to have some high empathy here and an ability to form some incredibly new, soulful, transformative partnerships moving forward. But the obstacle for you could be losing your identity of personal boundaries to merge with a partner. Watch that. Be careful. A mindfulness tip for you is always, always here. Ground before grouping. With Pisces, you must ground your energy. You have a weak hair and a porous aura where you are open with Neptune. So spend 10 minutes alone daily in the space of meditative focus to find your center before entering any societal situation or romantic space. Aries, this is the 12th and 6th house axis for you. The focus on retreat and inner life, caring for others through work, service, lifestyle, and health. So the axis balance here for you is physical reality, routines, health with spiritual surrender, the subconscious. Aries must learn that truth comes from both action and rest. So the positive for you here with this moon is the ability to pioneer new wellness habits and act as a spiritual warrior for those in need. Be a real rise here in Aries with Neptune, especially for the next 14 years. This eclipse is releasing this out of you in a very potent way, asking you to rise up now as a leader in ways that perhaps the last 14 years with Neptune in Pisces, you have been growing and learning your deepest shadow work, what to shed, what to hold, what to process, what to let go, and what to release. Very karmic energy. Be careful here with this energy. There's a burnout that can be caused by ignoring your body's need for retreat, your body's need to go and rest and not always be active, not always do this constant productivity and rushing out, trying to save other people, right? That goes with especially partnerships. Aries 1-7, you naturally rule the first opposite of the 7th. You're going to be able to enter into some new wellness habits as long as you don't burn out. You have to implement a time where you turn off your chores, your screen time, everything. Like, don't go to bed late here in the coming months. You know, there's a real ask of you to change these routines for you and the way that you move around the house of dreams with your energy, which is the house of sleep. Okay? Taurus, 5th, 11th house axis for you, the creation axis versus the contribution axis. So friends, groups, social networks, self-expression, creativity, children, love affairs. Yes, love affairs rise up here for you. A balance between your personal joy, you know, your hobbies, your romance life, and your collective processes. Like, where are you coming out in community and networking? And where are you making your personal beauty show up and being of use in a group? This is all under the radar. So you have an ability here with this solar, with this lunar eclipse to create tangible art, experiences that bring people together and build community. So I'll ask of you here to move forward in these energies. Look at how you have been doing them. And don't get stuck in this personal comfort zone, in your own creative projects, in your own way that you can socially isolate here and, you know, not come out into the collective. So a mindfulness tip for you here for your mind is share. The mind can be a sponge and it needs to work like a sponge as well as be released. The excess needs to come out. And so it's asking you, maybe invite other people into your creative spaces. Maybe not so much leave your creative space, but invite people in there. Bridge this gap between the solo joy and a social connection. Gemini, 4th, 10th house access. This is your private life and public access. So, career, vocation, your future path versus home, family, past and legacy coming to the forefront for you. And the axis of roots, home, family versus the axis of career, public reputation. So Gemini navigates the duality of, where they come from, where they're going, what they know, what they need to learn. Very active sign, ruled by air. And the positive here is a lot of versatility coming and being able to manage home life changes while pursuing a high career, like high goals, high dreams, or whatever is going on. You can be retired. It's still pursuing whatever you're doing up there, what you're being seen for in the public on a daily basis. Like people know, oh, she's retired now, or oh no, she's working part-time now. Like, where are you showing up in the collective? So there's a real positive here for you to have some versatility and movement and shifting. And an obstacle, though, could be the scatteredness and almost having a homelessness mentality, overemphasizing these external achievements, wanting to go out and, not really knowing where to put your home, where to put your structure down there in the home. That's all on the table for you with this eclipse. Cancers are experiencing this in their 3rd and 9th house axes of the information wisdom access. And you've got travel, education, beliefs there, communication with community, neighbors, and siblings. So a balance between these immediate facts, immediate communication, siblings, and their broad philosophy, higher education, travel. Your cancers seek emotional security through obtaining knowledge. And there's a positive here with an ability to translate very high, complex spiritual truths into more of a simple, comforting, nurturing language into the daily community. So there's been this shift with Cancer, or you're being asked to move what you've been working on up there in the structured belief systems, the 9th house, bring those down now into the community. And this eclipse now is the final release for you. You've already been doing the shifts and change, Cancer, of how you're putting your energy out into the collective on a daily basis. And this is the final shift where you should really, to be quite honest, Cancer, you should be done with this major shift that you've been doing the last 4 months. For all Cancers have been experiencing this. And don't become too overly focused. There's an obstacle here for you where your smaller scale, like day-to-day worries, and things people say about you maybe. Cancer's been through a whole thing with that. So make sure that you don't lose sight of where you're headed in that bigger picture you've been doing for the last actually 14 years. It's been a huge cycle, and all Cancers are like, I know exactly what you're talking about. But there needs to be, in a mindfulness tip here for you, is view the wide angle vision, right? Where you're not like keeping this penny in front of your eye and just looking at one thing. You can become overwhelmed as you begin to move forward in your energies with the daily things that you have to do to make all that work. And so remember that the culture out there is changing, and there are a lot of moving pieces for all of us. And we have to keep a wider perspective of that and an openness to how this is all going to kind of land. And right now, we've got a lot of shifting waters. So just keep that in mind and don't cling to anything too hard. Leo, second, eighth house axis for you. This is the axis of values, money, and transformation, other people. So, other people's money and taboo topics, possessions, assets, values, and your self esteem. So, this axis deals with personal resources, money, self worth, and shared resources, inheritances, intimacy. And Leo here is learning that true value is both by what you own and by what you share. So the positive for you is, an elevated self-esteem here, a higher self-esteem with this moon and releasing. It's allowing for deep and fearless intimacy here, an ability to manage complex areas of the heart for you. And perhaps the obstacle has been trying to tie your self-worth too closely to your bank balances, or maybe looking at financial opportunities that are, I don't want to say power hungry, but, where Leo is the ego and the sun, right? So there can be just not a real balance with other people's money and understanding how that works and financial ventures. And there's an ask here for you to understand that there's an opportunity opening up for you in the value sector with money and self-worth, with all the things that I've mentioned with this Virgo moon, and releasing anything there where you've been too hard on yourself. And a gratitude journal would help you here, where you list every day, hey, what are 3 internal qualities that I value that have nothing to do with money and nothing to do with social glamour and success and magnetism out there and leadership, and have to do with other people's opinions, right? No, what is it about things that I value that money can't buy? That is going to help you during the next couple months of navigating the solar release and all of the other energies that are coming up for us that are really coming fast. And Virgo, of course, we went through this, highlighting the first and seventh house axis of the self versus how you relate to others, and the axis of relationships, partnerships, contracts, with personal goals, body image, and how you release your personal energy. And, it's similar to Pisces, but here, Virgo with this moon is really wanting to need to refine the self and to be a better partner. It's a quest for a perfect balance between self-improvement and supporting others. I think that Virgos have been experiencing where they have overplaced their energies out there and overcommitted, and it's pulled you out of your home and your marriage and your closer, intimate partnerships. And perhaps you need to see that your value, right, the beautiful value that you hold, is in supportive functions right now of I care and mutual growth with your partner, and not over criticizing the partner and needing to fix the partner, and just letting your partner be who they are and not being so self-critical. There's a non-judgmental mindfulness tip coming out here, where you can spend 5 minutes just sitting, watching the world go by without labeling it, without trying to fix it, without seeing the white wall and the one little dot of dirt that's sitting there in the left corner, and not seeing where things need to be improved all the time. There is an ask to not be neurotic in your relationships. Libra, 6th and 12th house axis of the service and sacrificial service in the collective to others. So, work, service, lifestyle, health, retreat, and inner work of caring for others. So, harmony in the daily grind, seeing beauty in your work, sixth house, and peace in the greater collective. And the ability to create a lifestyle here that feels very spiritual, very zenish, in the middle of the mundane, bringing in a higher level spiritual energy. And the obstacle for you is, avoiding these necessary daily chores or health maintenance and escaping into daydreaming and avoidance. So be careful here about having an imbalance in daily chores and escapism. And a mindfulness tip for you is habit stacking. Like, link a spiritual practice to a mundane task to unify the access. Like when you do the dishes, be like, I am creating this beautiful, clean space for my loved ones to eat and their dinner on and nurture their bodies. And see it how it's got a higher level service that you're creating to it than the mundane. Scorpio, this is occurring on the 5th, 11th house axes for us, the axis of creation and contribution to the collective. So self-expression, creativity, children, love affairs, pleasures, friendships, groups, and social networks. So Scorpio has the ability to navigate here the depths of personal deep passion against the breadth of social influence. Like, it's the axis of the heart inside of us versus the crowd, the hair on our head, what everybody can see. It's what is internal versus what is external. And it's really a lot of power to lead here. Leo is magnetism, the 5th house, social movements with this intense, authentic, personal creativity where what you love and what you're doing, what you've been working on is this ability to come out into the collective here in a very passionate way. But the tendency and an obstacle with Scorpio and this axis here can be an all or nothing with friends, like being very dramatic. And Scorpio can have this intense jealousy, sun, moon, ascendant, that can rise up if it's not in balance. And they can leave social spaces in very violent, non-harmonious ways. Yes, this is true. The scorpion can sting and be angry and put its venom out there and hold. So, it's asking you, hey, how are you navigating your ego in social settings? How are you showing up? And it's asking us here with Scorpio, sun, moon, ascendants, look, observe. Work on the mindfulness technique of being the observer, much like the Ask of Virgo, where, we put ourselves imaginatorily in a place where our hands are open, we're seated, and we're just going to allow the collective energy to be how it is, and to allow this cycle of intensity to pass before I move out, to ground the courage. Scorpio's ruled by Mars and Pluto, to ground the courage, put it in a place where I can pour this knowledge out in a healthy way. Sagittarius, you are on the 4th and 10th house axis here, the private versus the public axis. So your home, family, past heritage, legacy, and your career, vocation, future path on the table here. Sagittarius seeks freedom in their roots. And, it's aiming for a legacy, a wisdom up here in the 10th. So they want to feel like their home is a launching pad for their career. And they're building a reputation here. There's an ability of, I'm going to be this visionary leader pointing the way that is deeply connected to my heritage and home. So something's going on here with this eclipse calling you to a deeper heritage, a deeper home. And there's a real restlessness between your emotional foundation and your professional status, your professional pursuits. So you could have some shifts and changes here come up in this axis for you with home and career. And there's an ask here not to neglect the domestic spheres, and the emotional foundations that matter in the home. And always being out with this restless pursuit outside of you. Sagittarians can do this, always seeking, always going out in the professional status and not coming to this place of rootedness. That is in flux with you right now. That's probably on the table. So the mindfulness tip for you here would be on trying to be in the center of this energy that's highly movable. This third and ninth house axis of Sagittarius is always mutable and moving. And, savor yourself here in the center action of perhaps connect to home, cook a meal with the family, connect to your family history and ground some of those ambitious future goals, because the home is calling out to you as well, just as strongly. And do some very practical home routines are calling you, Sagittarius, to ground in that energy in a very practical way. Lastly here, second to last, Capricorn, third, ninth house axis is calling to you, which is that axis of information versus the axis of wisdom. So community, neighbors, siblings versus travel, education, belief. And there's some structured learning coming forth here with Capricorn. This is facts, third house, building them into some kind of workable philosophy or belief systems. Jupiter, it's higher energy, and becoming a master communicator and taking these facts of the third house and building them, placing them somewhere concrete in a local way. And be careful here, because the obstacle, can become too rigid in your belief systems, too dismissing of new information, too traditional. No, this doesn't fit in the plan. This isn't the way we've done it, and becoming way too dogmatic. So a good tip for you here is once a month, try to learn something completely outside of your expertise. And what that does is it keeps that neural pathway open and your belief systems flexible. This is the ask of you with the solar release. And of course, this is the ask of you with this lunar release, of course, because it's ruling the rational mind. And it's, opposite the rational mind there is Pisces, Mercury, the Lord, and being called up to these higher spaces of imagination and creativity. So there's an ask here for you to not stay so structured. Aquarius, second and eighth house axis. This is the values versus the transformation axis of possessions, assets, self-worth, money versus other people's money, taboo issues, psychology with other people in those situations, inheritances, wills. So Aquarius is balancing this individual values need here in the second with collective energy, eighth, and wants to revolutionize how society is viewing money and intimacy. So the positive for you is there's a lot of honesty coming forward regarding your self-worth and regarding your ability to navigate your money and what you're doing with your money and other people's money that perhaps you've inherited or working with. And things that you're keeping maybe in secret or hiding. And there is a support coming for you in your values. And the obstacle for you could be being too cool here and, feeling detached from your own emotional intimacy, your own physical needs, and, or being out of balance with your own emotional intimacy, like what you need at the deepest roots in your values and money. All this is coming up for you in this moon. And a technique for you is called body scanning. And what you do is you place yourself in a place of meditation, just some breath work of 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out, closing the eyes. And you scan yourself physically, starting with your feet. And you say, am I really placing my feet where they should be? Are they in a place where they should be moving out? And, how are my legs supporting my feet? And that involves your hips. Like, where are you putting your energy out in a sprinting nature, in a way that allows you some momentum? And how is that supporting the center of you and your digestion and your heart and your lungs and how you're breathing and feeling at that level and, eating? Like, see how all this is being asked of you to get in that body and to feel, and go up to the throat and how you're speaking, in your face and your eyes and how you're seeing things. And don't make this long, but just do a body scan. And that is going to help you with the release energies of this lunar eclipse. And with that, I am going to close. I thank you very much for joining me. It is an honor and a privilege. Blessed be.